Hello everyone, I am Roma Khanna, Assistant Professor in Tindhakar Mahavir Institute of Management and Technology, Tindhakar Mahavir University. I am MSc, MBA in HR, NET qualified and pursuing PhD. Today, I will be dealing with the subject Environmental Studies, which comprises of different blocks. It will be included, like block 1 will be including the basic concepts of environmental studies, sustainable development, which is required now and now. Then it will deal with ecosystem, types of ecosystem, structure of ecosystem, functions of ecosystem. Block 2 will be comprising of natural resources, which we as a human being are exploiting now and then. So we'll be understanding what are natural resources, what are different types of natural resources. Then third block will be comprising of pollutant, pollution and solid waste management. Fourth and fifth block will be comprising of different sub-issues or the social issues related to the environment. So I'll be starting with first block today, which comprises of different units, and the first unit is of basic introduction of environmental studies. So these are the table of contents. Like I'll be dealing with concept of environmental studies, multidisciplinary nature of environmental studies, objectives of environmental studies, with what objectives we are dealing with the subject, scope of environmental studies, where the subject can be applied. Before ahead, you should also know what environment is. So we'll be dealing with environment concept, definition, component, why there is a need for public to have an awareness about this subject, and last, importance of environmental studies. So, the learning outcome after studying this topic will be able to understand the concept of environment and the concept of environmental studies, and why it has been incorporated and what is the importance of including this in your curriculum. Now, environmental studies, if I talk about the subject, this is a branch of science which deals with the different issues of environment. It is a subject which refers to the study of environment and which deals with the issues that affect the organism on the earth. It is an applied science as it seeks answer to making human civilization sustainable on the finite resources, because resources are limited. So we need to understand that how the human beings we can make our earth sustainable. It also involves the study of understanding of the fact that a single phenomena can affect an environment in a variety of ways and in different ways and a degree of complexity, and each of these effects can be understood from different perspectives rooted from different disciplines. So environmental studies is a subject which includes the following things. It includes developing personal awareness of environment and the connection of environment to the human being. Then, developing an understanding of different environmental concepts and the knowledge of ecological and social system. The capacity to act responsibly, and that means when we'll be able to understand about environmental studies, definitely we'll be able to act responsibly upon what a person feels in order to implement better solution to the environmental problems. This environment, we are facing a lot of problems. So to have the solution of this environmental problems, this subject has been a part of your curriculum. If we talk about this subject is multidisciplinary in nature. That means it involves the knowledge of different disciplines. This subject is not only limited or restricted to one point of view, rather I should say, but it involves different disciplines that may affect the environment in one or the possible way. It includes different subjects like biology, chemistry, physics, history, sociology, anthropology, economics. Let us understand few of them so that it may be more clear to you. If we talk about biology, this environmental studies is related with biology. Biology, if you recall, is a subject which deals with plants and animals. And in this subject, we'll be dealing how can we sustain these plants and animals, that means biodiversity. Ecosystem we will study. We'll study the effect of pollution on these. We'll study different concepts related to plants and animals. That means it is dependent on somehow on the biology. If we talk about chemistry, there are different festivals like Holi, which include several chemicals. When these chemicals in the form of colors, they move into different water bodies. They dissolve in water. That means they involve chemicals, and when chemicals are involved, we are dependent upon chemistry. We are also dependent on chemistry when we talk about the gases, that means atmosphere around us, which includes several gases like carbon dioxide, nitrogen, argon, krypton. That means we are talking about different gases. That means it is dependent on chemistry. It is dependent on computers also. As nowadays, if we want to find any data regarding pollution, population, we need to compare the population or pollution data with different countries, within country, but past year's data, definitely we are dependent on computers. If we talk about history, yes, it is dependent on history also. Why? Because in this subject, we will study about environmental movements. And environmental movements is nothing but the contribution of different individuals in the past. How they have sacrificed their life, like you might have heard the name of Chipko movement, Silent Valley movement, Kerala movement. So what are those? They are the contribution of different environmentalists who have sacrificed their life for the environment, for the protection of trees, for the protection of forests, for the protection of environment. So it is dependent on the history also. So similarly, it is dependent on different other subjects also. Ethics. Ethics is a branch in which we deal with what is right and wrong regarding the environment. Like we know that we should not cut the trees. It is unethical in nature if we cut the trees. We should switch off the light when we are moving out of the room. It is unethical. So this is a branch we are dependent on ethics because we'll be able to know what is right and wrong for our environment. So this is how this subject is multidisciplinary in nature. Objectives. This is one of the fundamental concepts which every student should be aware of, that with what objectives we are studying this subject. Awareness. These are the 5 objectives. Awareness. See, awareness, if this subject is included in your curriculum, it will help an individual, that means it will help you and the different social groups to acquire basic awareness and sensitivity towards the environment. But only awareness will not work, so the second objective is knowledge. It helps an individual to develop the basic knowledge and acquire the basic knowledge and the understanding about the environment. Environmental concepts, different problems related to the environment, and so that it is the responsibility of an individual to give solution to the environmental problems, and those solutions will be provided only when an individual will have the different depth knowledge of different environmental issues or concepts. Then skills. To help individuals and social group acquire skills for solving those environmental problems which I was discussing earlier. Attitude. It helps an individual to develop positive attitude. If I am talking about attitude, here attitude, I am saying in the sense that attitude developing a feeling of concern, values towards the environment, so that if you see any individual doing harm to the environment, you can protect the environment. If your attitude will be positive, you will have a positive feeling of concern towards the environment, so that you can protect the environment. And last is participation, to help individual and social group a sense of responsibility and urgency regarding the environmental problems, so that an appropriate solution can be provided to the different environmental problems. Then, scope of environmental studies. The subject of environmental studies can be applied in different areas. First of all, this subject will help you in studying the ecosystem structure and the function. What is ecosystem? Ecosystem is nothing which we will be discussing about ecosystem in the next classes, in the next video lectures. But right now I can only summarize that this subject is applicable in the study of ecosystem and understanding the structure of ecosystem and the function of ecosystem. In maintaining ecological balance, in maintaining the ecosystem, and ecosystem is nothing but an interaction of abiotic and biotic, that means non-living and living organism among themselves and with the environment. So in studying the economics, in studying the ecosystem structure and function. Next is for conserving natural resources. We can apply this subject for managing and maintaining the different natural resources like forest, like water, forest like wildlife. We can protect them, we can protect them, we can conserve them after applying this subject. When we will be having the basic thorough knowledge, we can apply, we'll have the skills, we'll have positive attitude, definitely we'll be able to conserve the natural resources. For conserving the environmental pollution, this subject can be applied. See, we human beings, we are exploiting our environment in some or the other way. We are the ones who are responsible for the deterioration of the pollution, for the environment by causing pollution. So after studying this subject, we can apply this subject in conserving the pollution. Next is waste management. There are different sources from which the waste arises, maybe our home, hospitals, hotels, restaurants, institutes. A number of places are there which are responsible for causing the waste. So this subject can be applied either in minimizing the waste or controlling the waste or managing the waste. Next, this subject can also be applied in different industries. In different industries, there are research and development sections. These sections, they govern the industry, which has an impact on the environment. So, because of industrialization, our environment is impacted, and every industry requires research and development section. So, to combat this menace, there is a growing trend towards the manufacturing of goods and products. It is a demand. We need to manufacture, different industries need to manufacture goods and products. But in manufacturing those goods and products, somehow we are deteriorating, we are affecting our environment. So this subject we can apply in different industries so that we can protect our environment. Environmental legislation and green advocacy. For an effective environment conservation, it is necessary to have or to implement different legislative provisions framed by the government. Legal experts specialized in environmental laws, they play a very important role because they force different industries, they tell what need to be implemented in conserving the natural resources or natural environment. Research and development, as we discussed earlier, in different industries. Apart from in different industries, in research, there are various scope in research in this area, in the area of environmental studies. The various research and postdoc have been conducted, they are conducting right now worldwide, so that we can understand different environmental mechanisms and we can take out some mitigation measures to somehow opt for different issues and challenges. Then there is a scope of environmental studies in conserving the biodiversity. Biodiversity is nothing but the variety of plants and animals which are living in the land. Different plants and animals, flora and fauna present on this earth. We human beings, we are very selfish. We are deteriorating our biodiversity. We are diminishing our biodiversity. We are killing them for our own reasons. For the sake of development, we are killing. There are n number of reasons. We'll be discussing it in the topic of biodiversity. So, to conserve them, we can apply this subject. Their human population is enhancing day by day. With this increasing human population, our environment is deteriorating. Our environment is getting impacted. So, this area or the subject of environmental studies can be applied in controlling the human population, and if not in controlling, at least awareing the people that what is an impact of increasing the human population. Somehow it will control the environmental issues or the different environmental problems will be controlled. Then natural disaster. These natural disaster is a thing which are not in the hand of human beings. We cannot control them, but at least after studying this subject, we can apply this subject in minimizing the measures, in applying minimizing measures. That means we can apply how to handle the situation when any natural disaster will come. So this was the scope of environmental studies. Till now we are discussing about environmental studies, why we are studying this subject, what is this subject, what is the objective behind this subject. But for moving further, we should also understand what exactly environment is. So if we talk about environment has been derived from the French word environ, which means surroundings. That means the surroundings, the natural surrounding around us. Environment is nothing but it is the sum total of the air, water, land and the interrelationship among themselves and with the human beings and other living beings also. So environment includes the natural surrounding around us, which includes air, water, land, human beings. Different researchers have given the different perspective or the definition of environment. We can sum up in the fact that it is the sum total of all the living and non-living things and their interactions among themselves. It also refers to an aggregate of all the conditions that affect the existence, growth and welfare of organisms or a group of organisms. Finally, we can also say that environment is a sum total of social, economic, biological, physical, chemical factors which includes the surroundings of human beings. What are the components of environment? I was telling about that environment is a sum total of air, water, land and human beings, the interaction among themselves. We are classifying these only things into two different components, abiotic components and biotic components. Abiotic components are the physical and the chemical factors which influence the living organisms, but they are non-living in nature. Biotic components are the living components like microbes, animals, human beings. If we can see in this diagram, the component of environment includes abiotic and biotic component. Abiotic component, like I was discussing, air, water, land, which are non-living in nature, but they have an influence on the living organism. Biotic component includes the living organisms, microbes, animals, human beings. They also include producers. They are those who are producing their food themselves. Consumer, dependent upon producers. Consumers are also categorized into primary, secondary and tertiary consumers. That means you might have studied in the earlier classes herbivores, carnivores, omnivores. And last, decomposers. If in another form, if we classify the components of the environment, the first non-living component is the atmosphere. Atmosphere is a protective blanket of gases around the earth. It comprises of different gases which are around us. It sustains life and we are dependent on this atmosphere. Without it, we cannot survive. It saves us from the hostile environment of outer space. This absorbs different harmful radiations coming from the outer planet and protect us from different harmful radiations. It is further classified as we move away from the earth. There are different layers, and in different layers there are different temperature, pressure and different gases are present. Moving from the earth to the outer space, the layer are troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere and thermosphere or ionosphere. The stratosphere is the region where a layer known as ozone layer is present, which protect our earth from the harmful ultraviolet radiations coming from the outer planet or the space. Next component, abiotic component, is the hydrosphere. Hydrosphere comprises of all the water component like river, oceans, streams, glaciers. But nowadays this water which we call it, only 1% of fresh water is available for us. Nature's 97% of the earth water is present in the form of Asia. 2% has been locked up in the form of polar ice caps or glaciers. This 1% is only present, and that to human beings, they're wasting it, they're exploiting it, and they are not conscious to save this 1% of water. And in fact, population is also enhancing. So this 1% is also getting decreased day by day. Another is lithosphere. Lithosphere is the solid component of the Earth's surface. It includes different layers like crust, mantle, and core. The outer layer is the crust on which we are living. The crust is complex, the hard part of the earth in which we are living, we are moving, we are doing our day-to-day activities. That is the crust area of the earth. Below the crust is the mantle, which is the second state. It is in the molten state. The outermost solid zone of the earth, which is crust, which is about 8 to 9 kilometers above the mantle. So mantle is below 8 to 9 kilometers to the crust. And then is the core, which is the central fluid sphere having the diameter of 2500 kilometers from the center and is composed of different minerals. So these were the three abiotic components of the environment. Then is the biosphere. Biosphere, as I discussed earlier, nothing but includes the living organism and their environment, like microbes, animals, human beings. And in animals we discussed carnivores, consumers. So they are also dependent. See, all these three components of the environment, they are dependent on each other. Atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, they all are linked with each other. We human beings, we require atmosphere, air for survival. Water also we require. We require land to live in. And we are human beings. So all these four components, they are interdependent or interrelated with each other. So this diagram shows the interrelationship or the interdependence of all the organisms among themselves. Then, need of public awareness. Why it is required for a normal public to have an awareness regarding the environment? Why is it necessary for a normal public to be aware of different environmental issues? Yes, it is necessary that each and every person should be aware of different environmental issues and their impact. Earth resources are day by day deteriorating, and they are causing a huge impact on the environmental as well as on the health of the human beings. Government alone cannot perform all the activities. Government is doing their part. They are making legislations. They are making different acts to protect the environment. But alone government cannot do. So each and every individual should bind their hands together and are responsible for the protection of the environment. Environmental pollution is one of the issues which is caused by the human beings. So human beings should understand that if they are causing any of the water pollution or air pollution or noise pollution, what will be the impact on environment? What will be that impact of pollution on themselves? Impact of pollution on the plants. We are day by day utilizing different natural resources without any giving a single thought that what will the impact if we are overutilizing or exploiting our natural resources. So as a public, as a human being, we should be aware of that what will be an impact if we will affect this natural resource. The soil is one of a natural resource, but due to heavy usage of the chemicals, pesticides, we are deteriorating its fertility. Water, one of an important resource without which we cannot live. We are overutilizing it, overexploiting it, and in a nearby future there can be a water conflict. We'll be fighting for that particular water forest. For different products, for different resources, we are utilizing forests. We are cutting down the trees for the sake of development, for making infrastructure, for our different personal usage, but we are exploiting this natural resource. So as a public, we should be aware of that what will be an effect if there will be no forest, or if it will cut over forest. We do not even give a single thought that for making the tissue papers which we normally use, how many trees are cut down? Just give it a thought. How many gallons of water is used in making those tissue papers? We can, after having the awareness about this subject, and normal public will be aware of different small issues of the environment which they know but they are least bothered, or they just ignore it. So this subject is required for a normal public also, so that an individual can know that if a population will enhance more than required, what will be the impact of it? The natural resources will deplete, pollution will enhance, waste will increase, more diseases will be there, and we are only responsible for it. So there is a need for public to have an awareness. Rather, there are different global issues like global warming, like ozone layer depletion, like more use of ACs, like climatic change. Why it is happening, a public should be aware of. What are the reasons behind it? What will be the impact behind it? And how can, with our simple little habits, at least we can join our hands to minimize these effects. Then, importance of environmental studies. Environmental studies as a subject is important in the life of each and every individual, not only students, not only youth, but yes, it is included in your curriculum because you youth, you are the future of tomorrow. You should know the importance of this environmental studies because you youth, you are the future. You'll be creating our nation. If at present you will understand the importance of this subject, the importance of protecting the environment, definitely our environment will be protected in the nearby future. So the importance of environmental studies is it helps in creating awareness regarding different environmental issues. Not only awareness, it also helps in creating depth knowledge of the same environmental issues, so that we can develop these skills, positive attitude, and participate as a youth, as a student. You can participate in environmental protection, in combating those environmental issues. It helps in achieving the sustainable development. That how can we preserve, how can we go for sustainable development? It helps in maintaining ecological balance and maintaining ecosystem. It helps in protecting the pollution. It helps in protecting, in minimizing the population. It helps in protecting the biodiversity. And above all, it helps to educate people about their rights and duties so that they can protect the environment. Thank you so much. If there are any queries, these are the different environmental issues which I was talking about: global warming, natural resources are depleting day by day, climate change is there, we are not disposing the waste in a proper manner. So these are the problems I think we should focus, and through this subject, the subject is of great immense importance so that we can understand these different issues and their impact. Thank you so much. If there are any query, feel free to mail me at roma.management@utmu.ac.in. You can also message me or call me the following number. Thank you. Hello everyone. I am Roma Khanna, Assistant Professor at Tirthankar Mahavir Institute of Management and Technology, Tirthankar Mahavir University. The topic that I'll be dealing is sustainable development. Before moving further, these are the content that we'll be dealing with. Exactly what development is, an introduction of this sustainable development, What is the history behind sustainable development? Aim of sustainable development, goal of sustainable development, three pillars, levels, result or outcome, and different examples of sustainable development. After studying this topic, you'll be able to understand the concept of sustainable development, and through this, you'll be able to conserve our environment, our mother earth. If I talk about the development is the general gradual growth of a situation that becomes more advanced than the previous one. Rather, I should say that development is intended to bring a positive change from the human beings in its surrounding. Development is joining the hands together for the meaningful participation in economic, social, political, cultural, and process and institution so that the conditions may improve. Now moving on to our topic, sustainable development. The concept of sustainable development was given by Brundtland in 1987. Brundtland at that time was the Prime Minister of the Norway and the Chairman of World Commission on Environment and Development. He said that sustainable development is a development that meets the need of the present but without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That means at present utilizing all the resources in such a manner that for the future we should not compromise them, or the future generation should not compromise for those resources. We can understand it in a manner that sustainable development is keeping a balance between the development and the protecting our environment. Between improving our lifestyle, we need to develop ourselves. We need to develop in different forms, improving our lifestyles, our well-beings. But keeping in mind that our natural resources, our ecosystem, they are preserved well, not exploiting those natural resources. So this is sustainable development, that presently utilizing the natural resources in such a manner that the future generation should not compromise for those natural resources. Different definitions are summarized in this diagram. This diagram shows that what is to be sustained and what is to be developed. We need to develop, people need to develop it through education, equity, equal opportunity, economy-wise we need to develop, society, institutions we need to develop, but at the same time we need to sustain, we need to conserve, we need to protect our nature, our earth, our ecosystem. We need to also preserve our culture. We need to preserve all the resources available on the earth, and maintaining the balance between the two is sustainable development. If I talk about sustainable development, the sustainable development thinking is widely recognized to have its origin in 1972 when the UN Conference on the Human Environment was held. The concept rather gained its momentum in 1987 when a report of Brundtland, the report was Our Common Future, it came forward. And that report of our common nature, common future, it laid emphasis on the concept of sustainable development. And in 1992, the UN Conference on the Environment and Development was held, which is also known as Earth Summit. So, from there, the concept of sustainable development was more focused. The aim of sustainable development is to balance our economic, environmental, and social needs. We all have our social needs. We need to grow it economically, but we also need to balance environment. Enjoy prosperity for now and for the future generations. The next aim is to minimize the depletion of natural resources so that we can develop but not exploiting or minimizing the natural resources. Next aim is to create a development that can be maintained and sustained without causing harm to the environment. That means we need to have a development but maintaining and sustaining our natural resources. It also focuses on maximizing the profitability of achieving the sustainable development, awareing the people so much so that they can go for sustainable development, minimizing the chances of environmental degradation. That means sustainable development aim that environment should be degraded at the lower. It should not be harmed. We are utilizing our resources, we should utilize our resources, but in an appropriate manner, not degrading the environment. Goals of sustainable development. The sustainable development goals, also known as global goals. They were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect our planet, and ensure that by 2030, people enjoy peace and prosperity. So that by 2030, our nature will be preserved, our Mother Earth will be protected. There were 17 sustainable development goals. They all were integrated. They recognize that action in one area will affect the outcome in the another area, and that the development must balance the social, economic, and environmental sustainability. These are the different goals, 17 goals which I was talking about. Let us discuss them in short one by one. No poverty. Sustainable Development Goal 1 says that or focuses that to end poverty in all the form and from everywhere. The second goal is zero hunger. That is to end hunger, achieve the food security, improve the nutrition, and promote sustainable growth. The third is good health. Sustainable Development Goal 3 ensures healthy lives and promote well-being at all these stages. The next Sustainable Development Goal is quality education. The goal is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education to all, so that there will be learning opportunity for everyone beyond the caste, beyond the religion, beyond any age. Gender equality. Sustainable development also aims gender equality and empower all women and girls. Next, Sustainable Development Goal 6 is clean water. To ensure the availability of clean water, sustainable management of water, so that in the nearby future we should not have conflict over water. Sustainable Goal 7 is affordable and clean energy. It ensures to have an access on affordable and reliable and sustainable modern forms of energy for everyone. The next goal is decent work and economic growth. That means to ensure, promote the sustainable growth, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, and protective and decent work for. The next Sustainable Development Goal 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Without innovation, we will not be able to develop with growth. So it promotes inclusive and sustainable industrialization and fosters the innovation. Sustainable Goal 10 focuses on to reduce the income inequalities among countries. Sustainable prices, sustainable cities. Sustainable Development Goal 11 focuses to make the cities and the human settlement inclusive, safe, and sustainable. Next is responsible consumption. To ensure that sustainable consumption and production patterns are there everywhere. Next, climate action. It is required now and then to take urgent action so that to combat the climatic change and the impact by regulating the emission and promoting development in renewable energies. Next goal is life below water. Sustainable Development Goal 14 ensures to conserve and sustainable use of water, oceans, seas, rivers, so that water is utilized properly. Life on land. It is to protect restore and promote the terrestrial ecosystem so that there is sustainable life on land. That is terrestrial ecosystem. Then peace, justice and strong institution. It focuses on to promote the peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development. Partnership for the goals. It strengthens the means of implementation to revitalize the global partnership for the sustainable development so that at global level all the countries participate for the sustainable development and for the protection of our environment and the mother earth. There are three pillars of sustainability on which the concept of sustainability lies. Without them, sustainability will not work. First is environmental sustainability. Next is economic sustainability. And another is socio-political sustainability. Let us discuss one by one. Environmental sustainability. It involves different decisions and taking actions to protect the natural world by focusing on the preserving the capability of the environment to support the human life. That means protecting our environment. And how can we protect our environment? By biodiversity. Materials, energy, biophysiochemical interactions, focusing on these issues will help in environmental sustainability. Next is economic sustainability. Use of different strategies for employing existing resources properly so that responsible and beneficial balance can be achieved over a longer run. Focusing on a balance on money and capital, employment opportunities, technological growth and investment pattern. The third is socio-political sustainability. The ability of a community to develop, process and structure without which not only meet the needs of the current members but also support the future generation. Equity, quality of life, institutional structure, political structures. All these three pillars of sustainable development, they are interrelated with each other. Protecting our environment as well as growing economically and socially, but without harming our mother earth. That means we need to develop economically, we need to develop socially without harming our environment, without deteriorating the natural resources. Sustainable issues, they are required to be analyzed at different levels. At every levels, we need to recognize what are the issues for which we can go for sustainability. Like global level, there are certain issues which are global in nature, which whole world is suffering from, like ozone depletion, like global warming, air pollution. These are the issues that need to be sustained. Yeah, for them, we need to sustain certain things. We need to think twice, thrice, what are the reasons behind it? How can we go for sustainability? Because these are the issues for which the whole globe is suffering. Then there are issues at regional, national and area level, like water pollution, water depletion, cutting down of forests, depletion of fisheries, biodiversity depletion at a particular area, loss of a particular species of a particular area, desertification of an area, soil erosion of a particular area. So these are the areas or these are the issues which are there at regional and national level which we need to think. Then at local level, a small plot, a farm or a village, what are the issues which are leading for the sustainability? The loss of soil or the loss of fertility of the soil. So at every level we need to, as an individual level also we need to focus. There are certain issues that can be resolved or we can go for sustainable development individually. Individually we can contribute in sustainable development. What are those issues? Think choice. Then these are the principles of sustainability. It says that reduce dependence on fossil fuel, underground metals and minerals, because these fossil fuels they take mineral of years to form, but they are getting replenished very quickly. So one day we will not be able to have these fossil fuels if we will not conserve them properly, or if we will not utilize them wisely. Reduce dependence on synthetic chemicals and other natural substances. Nowadays, we are much more dependent on different synthetic chemicals. So avoiding them or finding an alternate of them. Reduce encroachment upon nature. Maybe there can be an alternate. Finding those alternates, adopting those alternates in our day-to-day life. Meet human needs fairly and efficiently. If that is required, that particular resource is required, we should use them. But how much is required? That is a question that we need to think. So, meeting the human needs fairly and efficiently. These are certain examples of sustainable development. One of the best examples is solar energy. Solar energy is the energy which is readily available in nature. It is free of cost. The energy we obtain from sun. And sometimes we do not even give it importance. But now, solar energy can be utilized for sustainable development. It is a huge benefit to the consumers because it helps in reducing the pollution. Solar cells, solar panels, solar water heater, solar cookers, they are replacing non-renewable energy. Another example is wind energy. Wind is also readily available in nature. We can utilize it. We can harness the power of wind energy through the windmills. But yes, the windmills, they are very costly. There is specific location that we need to find for the windmills so that wind blows properly. Apart from it, wind energy can supplement or replace the cost of grid power, and therefore it is a good investment and is a great example of sustainable development. Crop rotation. The farming practices used by the farmers is beneficial in several ways. That can be chemical free or rotating the crops either twice in a year or depending upon the crop, it can be decided. And crop rotation has been proven to maximize the growth potential of the land. It increases the fertility of the land and it reduces or preventing the diseases and insects in the soil. Not only this, it also helps the commercial farmers to gain profit. Efficient water fixers. According to Environmental Protection Act, it takes a lot of energy to produce and transport water to process the wastewater. And since less than 1% of the earth water available water supplies fresh water, it is important to sustain the water use at an individual and societal level. Green space. These are some of the examples for the sustainable development. What are the outcomes of sustainable development if we go for sustainable development or if we adopt sustainable development? We'll have clean water, we'll have pollution-free air, our soil will be fertile in nature, which will produce good food, good vegetables, fruits. A good and healthy economy will be there. Population size optimum. It will somehow decrease global warming. It will save us from different diseases. Then there will be more opportunities to learn in the sustainable development. Then for sustainable development, I would only like to suggest that we need to spread social awareness to bring massive change in the society. We need you youth, you are the future of tomorrow. Students are the future of tomorrow. You need to spread social awareness in your family through word of mouth. You need to tell them how can we go for sustainable development. Action must be taken against a series of serious inequities and their impact on environment. Environmental mistakes of the past need not to be repeated. And this, we should join our hands together to go for sustainable development. These are some of the sustainable practices that we can adopt. There are many ways through which we can communicate about the sustainable practices. And these all the practices, they are interconnected with each other. So sustainable development is an issue which we all should be aware of, which we all should think of twice, thrice, that our earth, our mother earth is deteriorating day by day, because we are not going for sustainable development. We can start at an individual level from our home by switching off light, by adopting few small things in our life, in our day-to-day activities, like switching off the light, utilizing the water which is flowing from our buckets in our bathrooms. We can utilize them in somehow in our home, like in gardening the plants or in different ways. So this is an issue or an area of concern which we all should think of. Thank you so much. You can find me at roma.management@tmu.ac.in, and here is my contact.